Hey guitar players, today we're going to be talking about some basic blues phrasing that is really helpful. These are licks that are going to help you to expand your vocabulary. You're going to be able to use them for improvising and create your own sound from them. Today we're going to be doing the key of A, so like a blues in A. Okay, and so the first thing you want to do is take a look at this bar chord, for example, which is on the 5th fret, and realize that your middle finger is the major third. Because the major third is in the chord, you have to play it. Okay? And so the other thing that's kind of interesting for a lot of beginner guitar players is if I remove the pinky, I'm adding a note. I'm adding the flatted 7th, which is G. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7, okay? And so by removing the pinky, you actually add a note, which is kind of weird, but that's the way it goes. Because your pinky was originally on another A note, so doubling the A, okay? So this first lick I learned off of Buddy Guy's album A Man in the Blues from 1967, and it goes like this. And you can see where that goes from there. You can go in a lot of different places with that. So we're starting off on the flatted third, into the major third from that chord, okay? 4, E, and 1 is the rhythm. And so you can take this lick and what I would encourage you to do is just start playing around with it. Start like throwing around phrases and stuff where this, might be applicable. So that's that chord right there, okay? So the other thing to think about is the A note on the B string, okay? I always remember this because it's the B.B. King position, therefore it's the B.B. King note. It sounds like B.B. King. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm finding the A note on the 10th fret of the B string, but I'm not just sliding up with my first finger. No, I'm going into the 6th of the scale, okay, which is going to be my middle finger on the 11th fret. Okay, and so if that seems complicated to you, just think my root is on the first finger, middle finger is playing that jump off note, for example. Okay, and this is fun because I can do. Okay, so in order to use that in other places, again with cycle 4, C, F, B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, F sharp, B, E, A, D, and G, I can take that lick and move it all over the neck. So I can think C, do it in F, in B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, F sharp, B, E, A, D, and G. Okay? And so whenever you learn a lick, learn it in all 12 keys. This is why note recognition is important. If you learn a whole B.B. King solo in the key of B, for example, how can you transfer that to every other key? And so, if I put these two licks together, I have a phrase, right? I have something that I can work with. And a lot of blues players will just, work with these phrases, adjust them as necessary over the rhythm. You can do all sorts of stuff there, right? So as I'm thinking about that A7 chord, I'm also thinking of the chord change, which is going to the D7 chord. So if I play this basic D7, it doesn't matter which D7, this or this or this or this or this, it doesn't matter which D7 you play, but in this location, my pinky is on the F sharp, which is the major third of that D7. Okay, why is that important? Well, when I'm doing the A lick, I need to be able to voice lead it into the D. Okay, and this is why so many players are the good ones, right? B.B. King, Matt Schofield, Robin Ford, these types of people. They're playing through the changes. They are anticipating the chord change. Have you ever heard this? So I'm over an A chord. That's a whole step bend, right? Why is that a whole step bend? Because it's up to the major third. That's the major third of A. But then you think about this. Why over the 4 chord does it go to a half step bend? Because the 4 chord in an A blues is D7, and that C natural is the flat 7 of D7. So we have A, goes to the 4 chord D. When I started learning guitar as a kid, it baffled me. It was like, okay, so sometimes I bend a whole step, sometimes I bend a half step. I don't really understand why I do what it is, but once your ear gets acclimated to the blues, once your ear gets acclimated to the scales, once you realize that these notes under your fingers actually, they have like a digital value. You know what I mean? They have they're aligned on a grid, for example. When that D7 chord comes, I have things I should play over that chord. When it goes to A7, I have things I should play over that chord. And this kind of makes your playing so much more, I guess I would say, like mature, right? So it's not just, hey, I'm going to use the minor pentatonic scale, I'm going to use the blues scale over this whole song, and I'm just going to hope for the best. What you want to be is someone who is improvising like a composer. You're thinking of the next chord as it's coming up. You're thinking of the next thing that you're going to do. And what I find a lot of intermediate and beginner students are doing is they are reactionary composers, for example. So, you take a scale and then you're like, well, I hope this works, right? And it may work, it may not. And then you're always reacting what just happened, right? So you might like that lick, but over the 1 chord, the fact that I played the C natural instead of the C sharp could impact the harmony. So just a few things to think about. Okay, one more thing to do with these phrases, again, besides taking them cycle 4, is to come up with your own variations on the theme. You can start seeing where that blend is in between. So for example, if I take an A, and I'm playing this double stop here, I'm messing around with that D triad, which we all know, it's right there. It's like an A chord moved up to D, right? I'm messing with that triad over that bar line. Right? And so you can be thinking about these types of things. Okay, one more lick, an idea to give you. When you are going to the 5 chord in a blues, this is another Buddy Guy lick. So why does he do that? When I was a kid, I was always like, why is he, I understand the A major pentatonic scale, but why over the 5 chord is he going? It's because he's sliding into the major third of the E chord, which is the 5 chord in the blues, right? That's basically an E dominant 7th arpeggio. And so it just blew my mind. I was like, okay, this lick I've been playing for years, the reason it works is not because it sounds good. The reason it works is because it's literally going through the E7 chord. Right? And so I'm going through the E7 chord. So right into that major third of E, which is G sharp, flat 7, 5, and then, of course, the turnaround goes on measure 10 to the 4 chord, which is D. And then it goes to, of course, on measure 11, the A chord. And then, of course, at the end. So just, a more intelligent way to think about the blues and stuff. It's not just licks, because, at like blues jam sessions and stuff, I see players do this all the time. They're just trying to shoehorn in licks over the chord progressions. It doesn't work. You have to be cognizant of what the chord tones are and what the notes you're playing are over everything, okay? Unless you have an exceptional ear. We all know of those players that, they were already playing gigs by age 10, And, they'll tell you, oh, you don't need to know guitar theory. You don't need to know ear training. Just play what you feel, man. They can say that because they did it by an early age, right? It was like music was their second language. Let me just say this. If you're 25, 35, 45, or 55 years old watching this video right now and you don't know how to do this, you need to understand theory. That's the difference. The only players I've seen throughout my entire career that can do this stuff without having to think about theory are people that are virtuosos from a young age. So, food for thought, something to think about. What are your own licks? I would encourage you guys, take a blues, post a video on Facebook or YouTube, just put yourself out there, improvise. The better you get at, being in front of an audience, the better you will get at playing all this material. So, all right. Last thing I'm going to say for today, kind of a funny T-Bone Walker thing, but when he goes, those types of phrases, he's bending that flat 3 up to the major third, and he's kind of blending this, is it Mixolydian, is it minor pentatonic, that type of thing. All comes from blues singers, something we should think about, but it's not just a lick. It has a specific purpose. All right, have a great day. We'll see you next time. Peace.